Chainsaw Man's devils are central to every event in the series. Unfortunately, a lot of them are pretty poorly explained, or are just outright weird and hard to understand. So today, we're fixing that by explaining every devil in Chainsaw Man. Before we can go over any important devils, we have to start with two really unimportant ones, those being Tomato and Marshmellow. These two devils are extremely weak. In general, the more common a fear is, the stronger the associated devil will be. Almost no one is afraid of tomatoes or marshmallows, leading to their absolutely pathetic power. Seriously, I've seen kittens with more ferocity than these two. We don't really know much about the Marshmellow Devil besides the fact that it exists, but the Tomato Devil actually does have an ability, which is that it can revive from the seeds if they aren't burned. Yeah, it's not much, but it's not bad for a tomato. Next is our main protagonist, Denji. Denji isn't fully a devil. He falls under a separate classification of devils called hybrids, which are people that can turn into a human-devil hybrid based on a weapon. There are 8 that we know of, and Denji is the first we're introduced to, and he is the chainsaw hybrid. After Denji was killed by the zombie devil and his zombie Yakuza thugs, Pochita gave his heart to Denji in a contract, fusing the two together and giving Denji the ability to turn into the chainsaw hybrid. As a hybrid, Denji is unkillable, as they will heal almost any injury they sustain given enough time. This dude truly cannot be killed. We've seen him get decapitated a number of times, and even fully dissected at one point, only for him to be fine like a chapter later. As for abilities, Denji is fairly simple. He kind of just swings his chainsaws around like a madman most of the time, but he does have some additional ways to use parts of his chainsaws, like separating the chains from the chainsaw and using them to grab things or use them like reins in the case of Beem. He can also sprout chainsaws from his legs as well, but much like using his chains, he doesn't do that very often. Denji also has some unique stomach properties, but for the sake of avoiding spoilers, we won't talk about those until later. So let's move to our next devil, the Zombie Devil. This devil is pretty simple. It can turn people into zombies and then assume control over them. The devil itself is not that strong, but having a horde of zombies gives him more power than one might expect. That being said, he's still pretty weak overall, so it's not like they give him that much power. Next is the Sea Cucumber Devil, which is another weak one that we know nothing about aside from the fact that it exists. So we're gonna move to the devil that killed it, Power. Power is the fiend of the Blood Devil. Fiends are a being that appears when a devil takes over the body of a dead human. In general, fiends are a lot weaker than the devil would be in its full devil form, and are also a lot less intelligent than humans would be as a living human, so it's kind of a worst of both worlds situation. In general, devils really only become fiends as a last resort if they're about to be killed and want to survive, and for many of them, being weaker is preferable to being dead. Power is considered a high-functioning fiend in terms of her intelligence, which should really show you just how dumb a lot of them are. As a blood fiend, Power's main ability is to make things out of her blood, mainly weapons. We see her create hammers, knives, and more, and while they're all decently strong, they're nothing to write home about. But towards the end of part 1, we do get a glimpse of the Blood Devil in proper form, as Power comes back to life after consuming some of Pochita's blood. Because she consumed the blood of a powerful devil, this iteration of the Blood Devil is even more powerful than the Blood Devil usually is. In this form, Power is able to make use of other people's blood, forcing it to come out of their bodies and then controlling the weapons herself, which I would consider a pretty big improvement overall. Next is the Bat Devil. The Bat Devil is one of the many animal-based devils we see throughout the series, and as such, its abilities generally resemble the animal the fear is based on. As a bat, it can fly, and also has a supersonic blast it can launch from its sus-looking mouth, which I think is supposed to be based on echolocation, but seems just a bit more destructive. The Bat Devil is also quite physically strong, as we see it throw cars around like they're pebbles. Interestingly, Bat is one of only 2 devils we see in a relationship, the other one being his girlfriend, the Leech Devil. This thing is weird. It is obviously supposed to be derived from a leech, but I've never seen a leech that has such bountiful assets. Much like the Bat Devil, the Leech Devil possesses a high level of physical strength, having no issue crushing and destroying city infrastructure with its weird tentacle arm things. As for actual abilities, it only seems to have one, which is that its tongue is really sharp. Real exciting, I know. Anyway, next is the Fox Devil. From a design standpoint, the Fox Devil is one of my favorites. We only see this devil through the contracts it gives out to public safety officials, as the Fox Devil is fairly amicable with humans. As a result, we haven't haven't seen what it fully looks like yet, but the body parts we do see look pretty cool overall. In these contracts, the user can summon a part of the Fox Devil by saying Ko and making this hand sign. There are 2 different variations of the fox that can be summoned. Most people can only summon one of its paws to swipe at the target, but contractees the devil finds attractive get to summon its head, which will chomp on whatever the target is. This is a pretty strong attack overall, but it does hate the taste of hybrids, so it seems like its willingness to cooperate is dependent on the food it is fed. Next is the Fish Devil, but before we get into this one, please consider subscribing. The vast majority of people who watch my videos are not subscribed, but it's a great way to help the channel out. So if you've watched my videos before and you enjoy them, maybe subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Anyway, the Fish Devil is another one of those devils we know nothing about other than it exists and is incredibly weak. I mean, who's afraid of fish? Following the Fish Devil is the Eternity Devil. Eternity is a powerful devil embodying not just the fear of eternity, but also infinity. As such, its main ability is to trap victims in an infinitely looping space based on the area it is currently in. This space seems to be copied perfectly, copying even the sea life of an aquarium and money as well. All of this, of course, disappears once the devil is dead though, so it's not like it's usable afterwards. Additionally, it seems that time stops within the space when the ability is active, but it does not stop in the real world, causing victims to potentially lose days of time while trapped inside if they ever even escape. Escape from this realm seems passable via 2 avenues: killing the devil, obviously, and transforming the building the repeating space is based on, therefore breaking it. Neither of these options are all that possible for 99% of people though, which shows just how strong it can be. Next we have another hybrid in Katana Man. By removing his hand and revealing the tip of a katana, Katana Man transforms into his weapon form. This hybrid is pretty straightforward for the most part. He's Katana Man, so he attacks with katanas. But he does have one special ability, which is that he can move extremely quickly after getting into a crouching position, slashing anything that stands directly in front of him. This ability was really impressive in the early days of Chainsaw Man, easily outspeeding Denji a number of times, even though he still lost to the Freak in the end. Another devil introduced at the same time as Katana Man is the Curse Devil. The Curse Devil is another one we see only through contracts, so we don't know what its full capabilities are or what it truly looks like. But based on what we do know, it's a pretty strong devil. By stabbing the target 3 times with a nail, the Curse Devil is summoned, grabbing the target and doing considerable physical damage to them before disappearing again. This ability seems unavoidable and really had no problem even taking down hybrids like Katana Man and later Denji, which shows just how powerful this curse might be. Another strong and spooky devil is the Ghost Devil. We were first introduced to the Ghost Devil via its contract with Himeno, allowing her to control a ghostly hand that acted as a telekinetic extension of her own, allowing her to grab and manipulate things that were further away from her than usual. On her deathbed, Himeno gave up her life to fully summon the Ghost Devil to fight for her and save Aki. The form fights with a ton of arms, which it uses to grab at the target. While this form seems strong when it first appears, we don't actually get to see it do all that much, because it quickly gets eaten by our next devil, the Snake Devil. The Snake Devil has one ability that we know of. It can eat things and spit them up later at a different location. This makes it really effective at transporting devils, especially large ones. But this is another one we only see through contracts, so there might be more to it. Oh, it also looks like a giant cock. Next is the Future Devil. The future rules. The Future Devil is a cool devil. Not only is his visual design phenomenal, but his abilities are also interesting. He can, and this will surprise you, see the future. Yes, that's right. The Future Devil can see the future of any being that puts their head in its chest hole. There doesn't seem to be a limit on how far into the future this devil can see, as it saw all the way to the end of Aki's life. And its future-seeing abilities have also played a part in predicting the prophecy that is central to Chainsaw Man Part 2. The Future Devil is also willing to make contracts with humans, as we saw it give Aki the power of precognition for letting the devil live in his left eye. Normally, contracts with this devil are much more costly than just that, but because Aki's future was so bizarre and awful, Future let him off easy so he could be a part of it. While we're on the topic of Aki, we might as well talk about his boyfriend, best friend, Angel. The Angel Devil is a very unique devil. It's not strong in the traditional sense, as it has next to no physical strength and doesn't even like fighting, but it is one of the few devils that has a powerful utility ability, as he's able to trade the lifespan of humans to create powerful weapons. In general, the more years used, the stronger the weapon created will be, with the maximum we see being 1,000 years of usage, which one-shot Chainsaw Man in his weakened state. Next is the Shark Fiend, Beem. Beem is stupid, dumb as a rock, but that's part of what makes him so lovable. As a fiend, Beem is a lot weaker than the Shark Devil would be, but he still has a few notable powers. He can turn into a shark with a partial transformation as we saw at the end of season 1, and a full transformation as we see in the Bomb Devil arc. But in my opinion, neither of these are his coolest ability. That honor goes to his ability to swim through solid surfaces. I just think it's cool, and you can't convince me otherwise. Next is another fiend belonging to a strong devil, Voilence. This devil doesn't have much in terms of abilities besides the fact that it is really physically strong and also pretty angry. Because this combination can be dangerous, Voilence has to wear a mask that is filled with poison gas to keep his strength in line. Even with this debuff though, he's still really strong and is also a very competent fighter, even earning Reze's respect before he ran away. Another devil introduced at the same time as Voilence is the Spider Devil, aka Princi. The Spider Devil is really competent as far as devils go. Not only is it a good fighter, having 8 powerful legs to crush opponents with, but it also has a couple of other abilities too. It can go through walls in a similar way to Beem, and most importantly, it can act as a gateway to hell by sacrificing itself. This devil is seen under the control of Makima, and acts as a second pair of eyes for her as well. Next we have another nobody, the Pig Devil. This is a devil that has literally one panel, so we don't know anything about it, and it appears to be really weak. So let's just move on to something more powerful and bigger. Much bigger. The Typhoon Devil. Typhoon is a decently strong devil. It has 2 main abilities. The first, of course, is to summon a typhoon wherever it goes. The strength of this storm can vary depending on the Typhoon Devil, as the one we see in the Bomb Devil arc seems a bit weaker than the one we see in part 2. Obviously, even the weaker version is still pretty strong, but I think it's important to point out the difference. The second ability is that this devil can communicate via drains. Kinda cool, but not that cool. Next we have a devil that we never actually see. It's the Mold Devil. We don't know much about this devil, but we do know that it has contracts with public safety, and after they chew off part of their own hand, the Mold Devil will grow mold inside the bodies of whoever they point at. They believed this would be capable of killing most beings, even devils, but it was unable to kill the hybrid it was used on. Which devil is that? Well, it's the Bomb Devil, aka Reze. When it comes to devils who understand how their powers work, there are few that understand their powers as well as Reze understands hers. She pushes her abilities to be used in so many unconventional and unique ways, which is really dangerous because these abilities center around explosions, as you would expect of the Bomb Devil. She can flick off parts of her body to create smaller explosions and can make her body explode on command as well. But it's not just attacks that are enhanced by her explosions. It's also her movement, as she can pretty much fly by creating explosions below her feet. She can even use explosions to decapitate herself, and then reform her devil body from just her head while controlling the rest of her body. So yeah, super versatile and a super skilled fighter, not unlike the next hybrid we'll be talking about, but we have a couple more devils to talk about first, like the Skin Devil. Skin is similar to Mold in that we never actually see it, but we know that a contract with it allows one to steal the appearance of a dead person. It was used by the Immortal Brothers, who seem about as immortal as an Attack on Titan extra. It's a pretty minor devil, all things considered, not unlike the Stone Devil. This devil's main ability is turning things into stone, which then crumble, killing the target. In the case of a contract, this stone transmutation requires some sort of circle, although the exact complexity of this circle doesn't seem to matter all that much. While we do see the Stone Devil's physical body in hell, we don't know if it has any other abilities because darkness crushes it. Next is the Octopus Devil. The vast majority of time we have seen this devil that has been through the contract that it has with Yoshida. This contract allows Yoshida to summon a tentacle which he can then use however he sees fit. It can be used to grab opponents, transport people, shoot ink, and save Yoshida from fall damage. He can also access more of the Octopus Devil in exchange for body parts, since he traded Mifune's heart to summon the Octopus Devil's head. Why he was able to sacrifice someone else for this contract is still obscure to us. I also find it bizarre just how easily Yoshida can use this devil considering the restrictions put on other contracts, but that's for another video. Next is the Hell Devil. The Hell Devil has one main ability it can use: sending people to hell. It does does this after a suitable amount of sacrifices are contributed to summoning it. The amount seems to have some wiggle room, as it took 3 children to summon it in the International Assassins arc, and 6 members of public safety in the Control Devil arc. This might mean children are considered a more valuable sacrifice because killing them is inherently more evil, or maybe it's just random. Who knows? Regardless, it is a pretty strong devil, and it has one of the most important abilities in the show that is not held by many people. Next, we have a fan favorite, or at least a favorite of mine, Quanxi, aka the Bow Hybrid. Quanxi is on another level compared to the other hybrids. Even Reze and Beem, who are both strong in their own right, seem kind of weak compared to her. Part of what makes Quanxi so strong is that she's a threat in both human form and her weapon form. As a human, she fights primarily with swords, often wielding 2 at the same time, but she's also highly proficient in just throwing hands. In her hybrid form, she of course fights with bows. These bows have incredible range and can fire multiple arrows at once, all of which seem pretty strong. Additionally, Quanxi also has the title of the first Devil Hunter, implying that she is quite old. This kind of makes sense, as bows are one of the oldest weapons for humanity, but I think spears are even older, so it's interesting that he didn't claim the title first. Regardless, Quanxi is the most powerful hybrid we see, and actually, we kind of have a lot of powerful devils coming up, because next is the Doll Devil. This creep has the ability to turn humans into dolls, which then obey the Doll Devil's every command. This alone would be a bit dangerous, but it gets so much worse than that, because the dolls can also turn people into dolls, giving the devil an army of beings that are completely under its control and easy to reproduce. These dolls are also able to change their bodies if the Doll Devil wants them to, as we saw some of them turn their arms into swords. The dolls also allow the devil to distribute its pain, preventing it from being killed unless all the dolls are killed. So overall, it is very powerful, but it gets even more powerful after consuming a piece of the Darkness Devil, which prevents her from taking any damage while in darkness and also showed her the truth of the universe, whatever that means. And now we come to our first Primal Devil, the Darkness Devil. The Primal Devils are the devils that hold the names of the oldest fears in humanity. They're fears that developed primarily out of need for survival back when humanity was in its early evolutionary days, long before civilization. This makes these devils extremely strong, as the fears they represent are extremely common across humanity. The Darkness Devil is the first, and in my opinion, the coolest of the Primal Devils we see. Embodying the fear of darkness, all of its abilities are ambiguous and inherently unknowable, much like how it is impossible to truly know what lies in the dark. Almost all of his attacks revolve around destroying the body with an invisible force, as he has the ability to dismember opponents just by being near them. He can also punch them full of holes by saying this word and forcibly contort them by praying. He can also make his victims hemorrhage internally just by looking at them and summon this big-ass sword to throw at people. The most interesting ability we see, though, is his ability to summon devils and kill them, along with those that have contracts with it, which has some interesting implications. We only see it for like 2 chapters though, so our full understanding of this devil is still kind of limited. Hopefully we get to see him again soon though. I miss him. Next is the Cosmos Devil. This gal is strong. She essentially melts the brain of anyone that gets Halloweened, stuffing their brain full of all of the knowledge in the universe, which leaves them unable to do anything except say Halloween. It's a pretty cool ability, and I hope we get to see this devil again after its untimely demise at the end of the International Assassins arc. And since we have finished that arc, it means it's time to move to the Gun Devil arc, where we have to talk about, of course, the Punishment Devil. We don't know much about this devil, but it did contribute to killing the 20% Gun Devil. I believe they were these weird humanoid things, but again, we don't know much about it. So let's just move on to Gun himself. The Gun Devil is introduced as the first major antagonist to the show, and for good reason. On its first appearance, 13 years before the main story, it killed 1.2 million people around the world in just 5 minutes, including the family of Aki Hayakawa. The issue with this appearance, though, is that it was so fast it literally ripped itself apart, spreading its flesh across the globe and preventing it from fully manifesting again. When we do see it next, it's the 20% form, which manifests after the US president sacrifices 1 year off of the lifespan of every US citizen. This 20% form is still pretty powerful, with its main ability being to set a condition and then shooting people who meet that condition. For instance, it was able to shoot a bullet through every living thing born in January, February, March, May, June, August, September, November, and December within a 1 kilometer kilometer radius, so that should give you an idea of its power. Later, in Chainsaw Man Part 2, we see the Soviet part of the Gun Devil, which is 28% of its original form, put to use by Yoru when she transforms it into the Gun Gauntlet. This transformation gave her access to Bang and allowed her to execute one of the contracts the Gun Devil had, sacrificing the index fingers of 40,000 members of the American Pistol Association in order to create the Gun Goddess, which was able to shoot a bullet halfway around the world with near perfect accuracy. The Gun Devil also has a fiend form that we see after its fight with Makima, but it's not too notable as its only ability is shooting really big bullets. Speaking of Makima, she is our next devil to cover. I already made a whole video explaining all of the horsemen in depth, so I don't want to spend a ton of time on them here. Makima is the control devil and is based on the horsemen of conquest. Being the control devil, her ability centers around controlling others. In order to control another being, Makima must believe that she is stronger than her target, and if she doesn't believe that, beating them in combat should give her control. Once Makima has control of someone though, that control is nearly absolute, and has only ever been broken by Angel, who quickly gets collared again. This control also grants Makima control of any contracts her victims hold, which means she has a ton of abilities, with the most notable being her regenerative abilities thanks to a contract she made with the Prime Minister of Japan, which transfers any wounds she sustains to other Japanese citizens in equivalent injuries or accidents. Additionally, she's able to use the Angel Devil, the Zombie Devil, and the weapon hybrids and their abilities as well. In Part 2, the Control Devil takes on a new appearance in Nayuta. Nayuta is a lot weaker than Makima. Not only is she a literal child, but she also doesn't have the years and years of experience Makima had either. As such, her abilities were a lot more limited. She can only control 3 people at a time and also has a far lower strength ceiling when it comes to the people she can control. She does showcase one ability we don't see from Makima though, which is the ability to care. Nah, I'm kidding. It's the ability to control other beings' brains into changing how something tastes when they eat it, which she used to save Asa and Denji. Next is Pochita, also known as Chainsaw Man, the being the series is named after, and for good reason. This dude can erase things from existence, and I don't mean like make them disappear physically, I mean the concept is erased from reality. This happens to the concepts of the devils he eats, like when he ate the Mouth Devil in Part 2 and it erased mouths from existence. There are a ton of devils that have disappeared because of this ability, but what's really interesting about it is even partially eating a devil will severely weaken it, as Yoru claims that part of her was eaten by Pochita and that weakened people's fear of war, therefore weakening her. If Pochita takes too much damage in battle, he will vomit up devils that he has consumed, but interestingly, he seems to have some control over which ones return, because he vomited up both the Snow and Bitterness Devil to remind Denji of what he's lost. But this ability to erase concepts from existence isn't the only thing that makes Pochita fearsome. He's also an insane fighter. He has great strength and speed, and his chainsaws allow him to cleave through opponents with almost no issue. He's also extremely intelligent, making full use of the tools he has in combat to give him the best chance of winning. And he's hot. After Pochita, we're introduced to the rest of the weapon hybrids: Longsword or Miri, Flamethrower or Beem, and Whip and Spear, who don't have names yet. All of them are pretty self-explanatory. They just use their weapons when they transform, although Beem seems to really like his even when he's a human. And the very last devil we're introduced to in Part 1, aside from Nayuta, who we already covered, is the Mantis Devil, which we see in this one scene and don't really know anything else about. So let's move into Part 2, where we start with the Chicken Devil, aka Bucky. Yeah, this dude just kind of talks a lot and then gets smushed. It doesn't seem to have any special abilities or anything, and it's obviously quite weak, because, I mean, who's afraid of chickens? Next is another horsewoman of the apocalypse, War, aka Yoru. Yoru is technically a fiend, as she lives within the body of Asa. These two have a weird symbiotic relationship that generally favors Yoru more than Asa. Yoru's main ability is turning her own possessions into weapons. She can turn anything she believes she owns into a weapon for her to use, and these weapons are made far stronger if the items are of significance to Yoru or Asa. Additionally, Yoru considers herself the mother of the weapons of war such as gun and tank, and she sacrificed these children to create the gun and tank gauntlets, which gave her access to Bang, which greatly improved her strength and gave her a new option when fighting. Next is the Cockroach Devil. This is a pretty minor devil we don't know much about. We saw Denji fighting it and it was really big, but as far as I know, there's no specific abilities that it has. Next, we're introduced to Fami. Before we continue, I want to give a warning. We will be covering some major spoilers when we talk about Fami, so if you're not caught up with the manga, please skip ahead. This is the only time I'm going to give this warning. Fami is the Death Devil, the most powerful devil in Chainsaw Man. for she is the most common and most ancient fear there is. She's also the eldest sister of the Four Horsemen and a primal devil. Basically, if there's a title, this girl's got it. Despite this, we don't actually know a ton about the abilities she has. There are two that she knows for sure. Firstly, she cannot die. This isn't immortality like the hybrids or other primal devils have, where it comes from their insane healing properties. She literally cannot die. Even after removing all of her organs and not healing, she was still able to function. Death's other ability is that she can control beings that she kills. At this point in time, she has a few different devils under her command, including the true Famine Devil, the Falling Devil, the Guillotine Devil, and maybe the Fire Devil. It's a bit ambiguous, but she did kill this guy and the Fire Devil was in that guy, so maybe she controls it? Who knows? In addition to these abilities, it should also be noted that the primal devils also worship and obey her, but it's not clear exactly how overt this control is. From this point on in the video, I'm going to refer to Death as Fami to make sure people who aren't caught up don't get spoiled. Next is another primal devil, the Falling Devil. The Falling Devil is an extremely powerful devil, obviously representing the fear of falling, but also the fear of heights. All of her abilities revolve around controlling gravity, as she has the ability to increase gravity to a high degree, reverse gravity in a specific area, and also nullify gravity as well. She can also transport victims to hell through doors she creates in the sky, with her victims falling upwards to the doors the sadder they are. And it also appears that just her presence makes people want to jump to their deaths, which is kind of crazy. Like all primal devils, she is also immortal, possessing some of the most impressive healing abilities we've seen in the show. As I mentioned earlier, she is under the control of Fami, and she is the devil we see Fami use the most. Which, I mean, I can't blame her. If I had to choose between a primal devil or this bird brain, I would choose the primal as well. Another devil introduced at the same time as Falling is Justice, the real Justice, who is gross looking. Dude looks like a sex monster. Justice's main ability is that it can change its body at will, changing both the shape and size of it. We see him turn his arm into a hammer, turn some of his parts into these weird giant spikes, and also make a big weird mouth on his crotch. These abilities make Justice a highly destructive devil, as it has no issue tearing through buildings. But even with all this strength, it was still nothing compared to Falling. Next we have the Nail Fiend, which is the final fiend we have been introduced to at this point. This dude just likes nailing people to walls and then making corny comments. Low-key a favorite of mine, but we only see him for like 5 chapters, so we don't know much else about him. Following Nail is Carpenter Bee, which is another devil we know next to nothing about, as we only saw it being stepped on by Asa. Next is the Guillotine Devil. Guillotine is a fairly minor devil. Its one and only ability is cutting things, as we see it cut up some weapons. What's interesting though is Fami commands the devil to kill some humans, but never actually does it. I'm not sure exactly why this is, I just thought it was interesting to point out. As I mentioned earlier, Guillotine is under the control of Fami at this point. After Guillotine, we enter our second conflict with Chainsaw Man, where we're introduced to a bunch of new devils that we know absolutely nothing about. See, after Chainsaw Man is summoned from within Denji, public safety attempts to force him into a contract with the aging devil. And to do this, they tried to use a bunch of devils to subdue him, and pretty much all of them failed. But there are new guys here, so I feel like I should mention them, or else someone will ask about them in the comments down below. Some of the devils we're introduced to in this montage of destruction are Ear, Mouth, Snow, Bitterness, and Pillbug, all of which were eaten temporarily. There are even more devils that are introduced in this sequence as well, but we don't even have names for them, so there's not really anything to say. In this same fight, we're also introduced to the Tank Devil, kind of. As I mentioned earlier, Tank was used by Yoru to restore one of her arms and give her new abilities. Aside from that, we don't really know much about it, but it is being kept in one of the most high security locations we've seen, so it's gotta be pretty strong, which makes sense for the Tank Devil. And now we have the final primal devil that we're introduced to at this point, Aging. Aging is an interesting one. This primal has no ill will against humanity and was actually willing to be eaten by Chainsaw Man just to see what it felt like. But this indifference doesn't mean it's weak. It is still a primal devil, and as such, it has some really powerful abilities, the most notable of which is sending people to Aging's world, a pocket dimension where devil abilities do not work and it is impossible to die by any means. Almost everyone who gets trapped in this world is stuck for thousands of years, as there's only one way to escape, which is turning into a tree after you wait 1,000 years, and once the tree rots and returns to soil, you will be free. That is a really long time, but there is one single other way to get out. It just has a weird condition. You have to have a stomach connected to the outside world, and then use that to pull the aging devil into its own world and threaten to leave it in there with a really annoying teenager. So not exactly something most people can do. Aging also has the ability to attack people through mirrors, and it can forcibly age people as well, but that seems to be temporary. This Primal Devil will play no part in the story from this point on because it has a contract that prevents it from interfering with humanity. Right after the final Primal Devil, we have the final horsewoman, the Famine Devil. Famine is by far the weakest horseman that we see, but she still has a pretty broken ability, as she can steal the life force of other beings to heal herself. This healing is fast and efficient, as she was able to drain a student of his life in a matter of seconds to fully heal herself, and it can be used on any living creature, as we also saw just a couple of ants fully heal her as well. Other than that though, she's pretty physically weak and also kind of dumb, but that makes her fairly likable, so at least she's got that going for her. The final devil we're introduced to at the time of recording is a bit weird. It's the Fire Devil. The Fire Devil is another one of those devils that seems fairly amicable with humans. In fact, not just amicable. It seems to have an appreciation for them and wants to help them by granting humans the forms they desire as long as they have justice in their heart, with the form they're given being the manifestation of their justice. This is done via a contract, which also strengthens the Fire Devil, and we're told that the more contracts it has, the stronger it becomes, although that was told to us by Barum, who isn't exactly the most reliable narrator. Fire appears to be in league with Fami to some degree, as it was responsible for the transformations within the Church of Chainsaw Man, but it's unclear if this alliance with Fami is voluntary or if the devil is under Death's direct control. And that's every devil in Chainsaw Man. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. It really means a lot to me. And if you've made it this far, be sure to subscribe. You really have no reason not to. You obviously like the content. Also, maybe join the Discord. There will be a link to that and everything else in the description down below. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.